Wow, the zombie sentence for Cooties is over 3 million views? Well, time to ride that gravy train. We've covered zombies and infected time and time again, but what if we did a zombie virus that actually affected a younger demographic, and only that demographic? Whenever you see a zombie horde in a game, TV series, or movie, it's always predominantly adult males and females, but kids, because of ratings or legal issues, can't really be directly shown, being, I'll say, defeated, like what we usually do with the standard zombie. Of course, there are some outliers in some franchises, like the Screamer from Dying Light, the Attic Kid zombie from Telltale's The Walking Dead, the 28 Days Later restaurant infected kid, Sam from The Last of Us, Dead Island's trailer zombie kid, or the iconic teddy bear kid zombie or Sophia in The Walking Dead. Yes, they existed only to serve as a dramatic scene for the story and a major turning point for the characters, but rarely do we see kids as actual zombies, and never do we see them as part of natural zombie hordes. Well, today's interesting take of a movie does a 180 on that whole concept and says, what if, now hear me out, to get real close for this one, what if it was only kid zombies and the adults never got infected? And it's all because of tainted chicken nuggets. And it had that big-eyed dude from Lord of the Rings and Wilfred, and that annoying fish boy from The Office. How could a horde of only kid zombies possibly be a threat to your survival, and why is it obvious that today's title is different from usual? Well, today, that's what we're talking about. This time around, we're discussing the true personification of what being a teacher or parent looks like to someone who is neither a parent or teacher. If I talked this way to an adult at that age, my ass would have been destroyed.
Okay, boomer.
The virus starts spreading from a very noticeable patient zero, but no one pays any mind to it? That's not very realistic. Okay, maybe it is. Are you chicken? Can I have some chicken nuggies? The virus spreads because of a bully named Patriot not taking the virus seriously, Cooties virus itself. Today, we are telling you why you would probably survive a Cooties zombie apocalypse. Originating in what appears to be a poultry processing plant named Happy Poultry Farms in the town of Fort Chicken, Illinois, where these fowls are obviously a proud commodity in the small township, seeing the various statues and postings pertaining to the world's most consumed bird. We see one specific chicken quickly killed by having its neck snapped by a farmer before it is processed into the meat of other chickens within the plant. Supposedly, through unexplained reasons, this chicken's flesh had become tainted with an unknown virus that had been completely isolated into just one chicken nugget with the very noticeable physical characteristic of having a darkened, oozed stain on its exterior. With the processing plant being close to the local elementary school, the tainted nugget went unnoticed against USDA guidelines and even through the not-so-watchful eyes of shipping employees and school cafeteria staff. The viral chicken nugget ends up in the breakfast plate. I don't know what school serves chicken nuggets for breakfast, but my 12-year-old self is jealous as fuck. Okay, maybe not so jealous. But anyways, it ends up in the plate of one Shelley Linker, who would become the patient zero of this newly forming virus. From there, we see Shelley slowly contract physical symptoms as her demeanor becomes more droll, dull, lethargic, and her gaze becoming blank and lifeless at first, despite letting out a few slight chuckles at other people's expense. Her breathing is much more labored as pustules begin to grow on her skin, staying in a daze until the school bully Patriot pulls at her hair hard enough that an entire pigtail and a bit of flesh is ripped from her skull easily. Shelley, not flinching or reacting in any manner of pain, slowly turns and lunges at the little bastard, instantly biting a chunk out of his cheek. Shelley reactively scratches Elijah Wood and runs off on her own instead of attacking any other people in that moment, as Patriot is taken to the nurse to tend to his bite wound. Shelley is seen trying to dig her way out of the school grounds via the playground, possibly trying to escape in order to spread the infection in a less contained area, when she is confronted and verbally assaulted by the other school bully, and she again retaliates with viral violence and slashes him. In a matter of moments, bowl-cut blonde bully turns into a yet another infected. It doesn't take any time at all, and then he, in turn, starts scratching at other young students, one by one, infecting them and turning each child into a rabies-like, savage, less but more developed, aged crotch goblin. The turning time from the infection's contraction point seeming to exacerbate after just a few victims. It doesn't take that long for someone to become fully infected and turn into a zombie, starting from a chicken nugget that took almost a full morning to fully turn Shelley Linker, to a direct bite to the face that turned Patriot in about between 15 to 30 minutes, and the rest of the schoolyard turning in seconds from scratches to various parts of the body. While this turn time becomes instant for the third and beyond victims, they all start instantly developing blisters on their face and black veins soon protruding all over their bodies, with blood predominantly appearing on their face in some way. These zombie chillins change their demeanor to attack any non-infected individuals to the point of either quick infection to those of similar age or horrible mutilation to older people, as the elementary coach looking to help a turning child is torn open by a horde of Cooties carriers in seconds. When Principal Weird Al Yankovic comes out to lessen the not fully disclosed situation, he is lured into an innocent but forced game of Ring Around the Rosie, as he is circled by the horde of zombie kids and pinned down as he too is opened wide for a double-wide surprise. From there on out, the infected kids would gather in swarms more frequently to achieve their bloodthirsty goals, and chaos ensues throughout Fort Chicken Elementary. The children will seek to kill or infect anyone they can in various ways, either through direct, brutal means by swarming them and either ripping them apart or biting them hard enough to even rip their fingers off, by stealthing their way into safe spaces to execute unaware individuals, using their visage as a faultless child to lure others, mostly adults who are trying to aid them, to swiftly kill these adults or strike them when they are close without fearing of violent retaliation from a majority of people, an often taboo and morally gray area for adults. Although many adults do fight back throughout the film, many would fall victim to this facade, with falling victim meaning actually being horribly murdered, not the virus turning adults themselves undead, since they only experience mild symptoms even after extended time in quarantining. The Cooties infected will systematically close off any visible escape routes possible, so anyone attempting to escape will be met with a quick and painful death, displaying their capacity for problem solving and intelligence. Calvin, the elementary school musical protege, tells all panicking adults that the virus is just cooties spread by Shelley Linker, and Mr. Davis, obsessed with biology and virology of this developing pandemic, literally picks the brain of one child to discover what it actually is, or what it is in his opinion. While the movie briefly and quickly skims over what it could possibly be, there could be more to it than a simple puberty-based chickenpox virus assumed to be cooties by kids.
Prognosis is not good. Most of the gray and white matter has been severely infected. All these black areas are basically dead.
I mean, they can run, jump, eat, but they're not human anymore. I'm thinking this is more likely a virus.
What kind of virus would do that?
Well, this infection is, as the movie states, not what children have labeled it as the fabled Cooties virus, but a mutation of the chickenpox virus, because this movie is obsessed with chicken, so I'm just gonna assume they were trying to do a pun on that virus or something of that nature. But chickenpox, otherwise known as varicella's name, is most likely derived from either the chickpea-like vesicles developed on the skin, or how the spots on the flesh look like marks from chicken pecks. It is basically a very minor form of the herpes virus that mostly affects children at a young age. It has an infection rate of 90% when coming into direct contact of any infected individuals. which Cooties does take into account, as its primary driving force to the means of its infected and how it spread was through how kids at the beginning were visibly touching each other and spreading it very fast. Although the origins of this virus coming from tainted chicken meat don't make too much sense. Ironically, chickens in no way, shape, or form can harbor or spread the chickenpox virus.
But it is my hypothesis
That the tainted meat could have carried with it a mutated form of the food-related illness Salmonella, which is very common to be spread through undercooked or raw meat, especially chicken, and is also very susceptible in children as well. It's also possible that maybe even a rabies-like virus developed in this particular chicken that got its neck snapped, considering how rabies has a high transmission rate from biting to scratching to bodily fluids. So, it may have been that Shelley Linker had the onset of the chickenpox virus before displaying any symptoms, and the mixture of whatever disease lied dormant in the tar-filled nugget, whether it be rabies or something of salmonella or something even more developed of the chickenpox virus somehow, that mixed and caused a sporadic mutation in order to create these zombie children, and in some cases, zombabies. Or maybe this virus is just out of this world and alien and was sent here by, now don't tell anyone I told you this, but the ancient alien race of the Yokians! Once spread to a host through direct consumption or via a bite, scratch, or bodily fluids to a person who never experienced puberty, apparently, the victim will slowly start to display symptoms of deterioration and necroptosis, where flesh can easily rot or be ripped off, with their innards blackening from their blood vessels, their organs, to their very gray matter, effectively making them walking, talking, and thinking cannibalistic corpses. They will eat the flesh of the living, entering a Dawn of the Dead 2004 zombie-like state, where they are pretty much the reanimated dead that are able to run at high speeds without the detriment of rigor mortis, with enhanced strength, and worse yet, being smarter than the average zombie. Cooties zombies retain intelligence enough to play with their food, lure unsuspecting prey towards them before attacking, being able to climb up trees and open up doors, coordinate in herds to intimidate prey, trap victims in enclosed areas, and overall work to overwhelm opposition by either numbers or destroying any means of survival through sabotaging electronics. Any and all infected retain enough dexterity to easily climb trees and easily crawl through vents, while having the know-how to use tools and minor vehicles to either their advantage or to childishly play with, ranging from using intestines as jump ropes, eyeballs as jacks, and even severed heads as tetherballs, showing that they can string together contraptions in order to make these morbid toys possible. They can also fully understand spoken language, and when overhearing any broadcasted communications, can plan to intercept or sabotage set forth plans. They will actively hunt in any nooks and crannies they can see, even sniffing inside of and inspecting air vents. Shelley Linker is seen patrolling the school in a tricycle, and one finding uninfected adults screams at a high pitch that can call for reinforcements, much like how any loud sound can draw the attention of infected hordes in Left 4 Dead. She is also seen hiding in a police car to assassinate the only armed officer in the area, the codified Patriot, possibly due to his past troublemaking and underhanded nature, worked to better the chances of his fellow zombie horde, but mostly was probably working to just troll the adults and make their lives more miserable by sabotaging every avenue of help or chance to fight back they could try to get. He did this by destroying mostly all cell phones and landlines, disabling the school's electrical grid, and even opening up locked doors for other infected so they can flood inside the school. They will effectively work together to spread their reach more so than a majority of generic zombie drones, and I would compare them to the zombies of the Return of the Living Dead virus, being smart enough to understand language and basically just work together and not be the typical dumb zombie. Once they have broken their feeble containment for the elementary school, the 90 infected kids swiftly took over the township, killing anyone they can find and adding to their underage numbers. But At this point, I'm sure you're thinking what everyone else is right now. How the hell do a bunch of kids pose a threat to my survival? Surely I can just punch Tiny Dead Tim's head off and go on about my day, right? Well, the main determining factor of why this video says that you would probably survive a Cooties zombie apocalypse is the fact that
It seems that the virus is susceptible to androgens, but at puberty, the body's glands create a feedback cycle that increases the gonadotropins by about 2,000.
What are you trying to say?
The virus is only dangerous if you haven't gone through puberty.
the symptoms go from less about transforming into a fairly intelligent feral infection-spreading beast to just experiencing stomach flu-like symptoms with nausea, cramps, and vomiting. Yep, that's right. If you have had puberty, you will only pretty much puke and you won't turn into a zombie. Yeah. If you get bitten by these Cooties kids and you are able to watch the age-restricted videos on YouTube without faking your birthday, you'll just get minorly sick. And that's even if you directly expose yourself to a victim's bodily fluids, as an adult won't show any immediate results, as we see the cocky gay teacher literally shows off his hands after digging them in piles of diarrhea. While yes, now that bites or scratches aren't really a threat of turning you into a zombie and are more just normal wounds to you, and are only really a threat to you if you're on Onision's Most Wanted, the kids themselves are still going to be a major danger and threat to your own survival. They seem to also have either mutated enough to enhance their strength, stamina, and a seemingly infinite source of adrenaline, as they can bite through bone and flesh with no issue, easily gnawing through a police officer's fingers without issue, slashing through flesh easily as well, with their supposedly sharpened fingernails or jagged claws that their fingers have turned into. I don't know, but they could probably slash your jugular if they got close enough. They can withstand tons of damage, ranging from heavy blunt trauma from melee weapons to even being directly run over by high-speed vehicles and having their jaws literally barely hanging from their head without reeling from pain or any notions of self-preservation. They can cling to the roofs of cars to sneak attack you, sneak into cars to sneak attack you, get into rooms to sneak attack you, call in for reinforcements to attack you from all sides, pretend to be a kid. They have so many avenues to try and execute you before you can even retaliate. For a majority of the population, many would see the Cooties virus as nothing much to worry about if the first few infections were between adults and young adults like teens alike, easily and unknowingly spreading it to children where the threat can actually rear its ugly head. So say if the chicken nugget was consumed by an adult and he just had mild nausea and then he spread it to other adults for a while, and then you have dozens or hundreds of adults that have it, then they give it to their kids who go to school, well, it could get a lot worse from there, and the initial zombie outbreak could be a lot worse than what we saw in the movie. And the worst part about it, when a kid does get infected, they can just act lethargic and not really attack anyone, waiting for their time to strike. Kids can even pretend to be completely healthy as they approach their parents, guardians, and strangers, so that they have the chance to infect other children and infants to increase their numbers. However, even if these kids were being smart about increasing their numbers under the radar, eventually they would start attacking adults, and armed and militarized response, once they discovered and discerned the threat for what it is, would not have a hard time extinguishing any infected kids out and about. I mean, if an elementary school science teacher can discern that puberty is the main preventative of this virus, high-ranking medical officials could easily come to this conclusion as well. Suiting up with just about any rudimentary weapons and defensive apparel you can scrounge up seems to be good enough to survive against the undead hordes of Cooties carriers, as it was for the main cast. I mean, if high-projectile baseballs can take them out,
that's a baseball!
I mean, I can only imagine what basic firearms could do. Although for legal purposes, I can see why the movie never showed firearm use against underage kids, and had to resort to some cartoonish means of zombie disposal, despite it showing kids dancing in and playing with the organs of dead bodies. But like I said earlier, the survival ratio is going to be a lot higher than usual, since bites and scratches are only going to make you slightly nauseous. It might make you make some noise that gets you killed, but you're not going to become infected just because of a tiny little scratch. The only plausible sense of you being snuffed out is, I hate to be redundant again, but falling for their faux childish behavior to surprise attack you or swarming and overwhelming you in the onset of the outbreak if their numbers are high enough. They can break through your defenses because they are quite strong. They can coordinate themselves at points of entry to where you're held up, and once you try to escape, you will be overwhelmed there. While you attempt to survive this stranger-than-fiction kiddie pool of a disease, they will sabotage any means of communication, although I doubt the surrounding public would be without their cell phones to call for emergency help, like the movie imposed on the teachers. And these kid zombies will see to utilizing any firearms, weapons, and other fun-looking instruments of death and destruction they can find lying on the ground or on the dead bodies of the people they killed, and use them to almost their full potential. Imagine these kid zombies packing heat. They probably wouldn't be too bad of a shot since they play a lot of Call of Duty. Uh-oh, did I just prove video games can cause violence? Don't tell the news media, they'll go berserk with this, bro! Oh my god! The Cooties zombies, being dead, walking corpses, could possibly begin to rot and decay due to rigor mortis to the point of immobility over time, limiting their cognitive abilities and movement till they are easily disposed of, but it's highly doubtful they could exist as a widespread threat long enough to get to the point that they are rotting. Well, rotting more than they are at the beginning. So basically, just survive and don't get found or caught by yourself or nearby a bunch of susceptible kids, and you should be fine over the first few days, while the militaries and police forces of your surrounding area will mow down these Cooties Critters kids so they're no longer a threat. This video's getting age restricted, isn't it? Well, school's out for summer. Did you enjoy this take of the Cooties virus before it gets age restricted? What did I get wrong? What did you like? What did you not like? Did I tend to use
The wrong rowboat.
Word.
Word.
What do you want to see on the future? Recently, I said I would be going on a break, but I'm a glutton for making content and don't know what breaks are apparently. I'll probably be focusing on a zombie sins and why you wouldn't survive for #alive, so stay tuned for that. Keep in mind, I still have my Vote for Coach merch on sale until November 15th, so get you a shirt, hoodie, poster, or blanket in many different colors to suit your tastes. You can also support the channel in a number of ways to be featured here, like being a longtime donator, Patreon patron, a YouTube channel member, or just donating during my live streams. If you want more of this movie, check out my previous zombie sins on Cooties that I released over a year ago by clicking the video above, or check out some of my other zombie apocalypse scenarios from the Why You Wouldn't Survive series. And like I always say, stay happy, stay healthy, stay away from those cooties because girls are icky, and most importantly, stay wow.